6th at 4 p.m. Welcome to the Beach Haven Agenda meeting. We will begin with a flag salute led by Mrs. Baumiller.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building, on the borough website, and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Here.
Dr. Davis. Mrs. Rutherford.
Here.
Mayor Lambert.
Here.
Ordinance 2022-11C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 212 zoning, Sections 212.3 definitions, and Sections 212.23 off-street parking requirements of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. The purpose is to amend and supplement the borough's zoning ordinance to include a definition of substantial improvement, and to amend Section 212.23 off-street parking to reflect the borough's desire to clarify that older existing homes would not be required to meet off-street parking requirements in the event that the proposed improvement do not qualify as a substantial improvement under Chapter 212. Final reading, and I did receive a review from the Land Use Board. They had no concerns or requests for changes.
Great, thank you. Okay, since this is the final reading, we will open it to public comment. As always, please come up, identify yourself, and please hold it to 3 minutes, and don't forget your name and address. We'll do the room first, and then we'll do Zoom. Would anybody in the room tonight like to speak to this? No? How about Zoom?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right, seeing none, we will close it to public comment. And is there a motion to approve 2022-11C?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 125, executing a shared service agreement with Long Beach Township for license plate reading data. 131, urging the passage of S330, restoring energy tax receipts to municipalities. Resolution 132, urging the New Jersey legislature to amend the budget cap law to appropriate funds for increasing insurance costs. Resolution 133, awarding a contract to DN Electrical Contracting, Inc. for the 2022 installation of dual port electric vehicle charging stations. And Resolution 134 is amending a previous return of remaining escrow.
Thank you. Everybody have a chance to review these? Anything you would like to have discussed, or we're good to go? All right, seeing that there are no questions, comments, or concerns, is there a motion to approve the resolutions within the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
For general discussion, we just have one item, the 2022 fireworks display.
Okay.
Just for the record, just state your name and address.
Brian Wainwright, 209 Christine Ave, Manahawkin, New Jersey. This is my annual fireworks flogging. I'm here to present the dates that we're looking to do for the season. We are supporting the July 4th display because the fireworks vendor had that. There was a July 4th display. We were able to convince our current vendor to step up and make sure that we have a display for July 4th. So part of our application will include July 4th this year with a rain date of July 5th, September 3rd, which is a Labor Day weekend with a rain date of September 4th, September 9th, which is the Friday evening of our Touch a Truck event, October 8th, which is Kite Fest weekend, October 22nd, which is our final weekend, open with the rides, and New Year's Eve, December 31st.
Thank you. Council? Mr. Wayne, I'm very grateful you're taking over the 4th of July. I think that's great. I think it's important.
Just to be clear, we're just supporting, we're not taking it over.
Oh, you're not? Okay. I thought you were
Yeah,
now in charge.
Well, it may head that direction, but, I think we're faced with not having a display. So in order to make sure that there was something, we're happy to help.
Okay, thank you. As far as the rest of the dates go, I'm an old school girl and I kind of like it only on the 4th of July, but we did give you permission in the past to do these. And I personally don't feel it's appropriate at this point to say no. So I would support this.
I looked over this again also myself, and I do appreciate all that you do for town and what you're doing. I was just wondering, is there a reason to have 2 each month? I understand for special dates. Is there any way you'd be considering like maybe just doing 1 in September and 1 in October?
So the September one is really just to have an additional draw, so we raise as much as we can for the Touch a Truck event.
Okay,
All the proceeds from the rides that night get donated to the fire companies and the first responders. So
okay,
that's the reason for it.
okay,
Don't get anything additional out of it, frankly. It's just
No.
to drive attendance on a Friday,
sure.
post Labor Day weekend. The 2 October dates, one's, closing weekend for us. The other one is Kite Fest. We're trying to draw the traffic to Beach Haven from the other side of the island.
Okay,
So I think there's a community benefit to it, but
okay.
we certainly could cut them down if that was imperative.
What about and just asking, so if I understand the Touch a Truck and that is a great event for our town, is maybe we keep them on that date and not do the Labor Day ones? Just a thought. I don't know what other people think about that.
Having survived the season, that's always a nice celebration, but
Yeah.
I'll defer to council.
And the dates are comparable to what we. approved last
Yeah, no,
year.
and I understand, and we all approved them unanimously last year, so I'm just asking, just thinking about how it impacts, it's not, it's exciting, we have fireworks here in town. People enjoy them, but there are people who really don't enjoy them, as you know,
I'm
and
clear.
as we remember from last year, we did get some pushback from some community members just concerned about, the impact to their own PTSD issues that they have, or, animals. So just trying to understand that. So it's just, those are I'll go with what council is, but I just wanted to make those statements. Thank you.
I don't have any problem with it, except the ones in September, 6 days apart.
Yeah, we have the option to change the date of the Touch a Truck. We just felt the earlier it was in the month, the more chance we had for higher attendance. But we certainly have enough time to pivot to, a week or 2 later in the month. Not a big issue for us here, but that was the thought process.
I understand, but also hearing what Chris is saying. I understand it, but also hearing what Chris is saying, how there's some community pushback that might be. Within a week of each other.
Yeah.
Too, so-
I mean, if it made a difference, we can certainly push the event a week. We haven't locked in all the, fire companies at this point.
Would be helpful, as far as satisfying some of the people that don't appreciate fireworks.
Yeah, I love them, but I know that not.
Yeah, I get it.
Brian? How are you?
Here we are again.
I know, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you do for the community. Having you as part of Beach Haven has been absolutely
Yes.
100% awesome.
Hold the microphone a little bit closer. and that's
What
why-
you do, not only what you do for the community, but what you've done for the school. So, I always thank you. It's always good to hear thank you. from you. So thank
No,
you
I
so
appreciate
much.
The feeling's mutual, by the way. We love being a part of the community.
Great. I know my daughter loves your.
She's quite skilled, by the way.
I know, exactly. So, as far as fireworks, I personally don't have a problem with fireworks. I enjoy the 4th of July. It is always trying to have that balance between the community and the businesses and the tourism. And, at Labor Day, we're just spread thin, taxed. People are here anyway. I don't see the need for Labor Day, really. I understand the Touch a Truck. I understand like a time in October. And last year with the New Year's Eve, the weather was horrible, right? Yeah, no one would even consider going into, was it a nor'easter? I think there was something.
Well, the park looked like a nor'easter happened either way, so.
Yeah, it was just, oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of it going on.
That's right. So, I mean, I can support this, but again, after last year, I did hear a lot, I did field a lot of complaints about 2 in 1 month, you know, what's the need, what's the purpose, and trying to, again, to have that balance. So I would be happy with 1 in September and 1 in October. And, you know, definitely 4th of July and December, they're spread apart. I think that would kind of be okay with the community, but again, I'll go with, you know, whatever council sees fit as well.
Well, we have about 4 different opinions, so.
Or is it verbal today or just a conversation?
No, it's just a conversation
So we
before
can
we
modify
dive
the
into all the
dates.
paperwork
Yeah,
and
right.
get it all.
Mhm.
prepared.
Okay.
So,
All right, so I'll take the feedback and consult with our team and see what makes sense from the dates. And I guess we'll make
Then
formal
submit
application.
something.
Yeah,
Go
Mhm.
through the checklist, get it approved through insurance, and then we'll present it.
okay.
So, I mean, you're asking for 6, we're saying 4,
Yeah,
so see how you feel and.
That's fine. All right, very good.
yeah. That's what, okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
thank you so much,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Have a bills today in the amount of $407,279.39.
Everybody have a chance to review the bills? Any questions or comments on bills? No? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes,
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
Public-
Did you want to?
I'm gonna wait.
Okay. All right. We are now opening the floor to public comment. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll start with the room and then we will go to the people online. Please identify yourself, name, address, and please try to hold it to 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak? Mr. Halpern?
Hello, John Halpern, 319 Fairview Avenue, and also president of Beach Haven Taxpayers Association. As council's aware, we sent a letter regarding businesses accessing our public beaches. And our board, as well as one of our taxpayers and board members, Tony Gamos, had some concerns. The letter articulated those concerns. The first was whether or not businesses are subject to the beach badge fee enforcement. And because we were told last year by some of the checkers that the businesses were exempt from beach badge enforcement. We found that not only is it a missed revenue opportunity, but other businesses such as hotels for their occupants are required to purchase beach badges for them. So we thought that was a concern that should be addressed. The other concern was more of a public safety concern, and that is that we contacted the Surf School Association or their trade association, and there's nothing. They told us that there's no requirements for background checks. There's no requirements for life safety certification. There's no requirements for appropriate instructor-student ratios. We have been told that at times regarding the surf school, there could be 6 adults accompany 1 student onto the beach. So we felt that that was a concern that should be looked at. The combination between student instructor ratios as well as a combination of the lack of background checks and life safety, CPR, life safety certification. The last item that we wanted the council to look at is liability insurance. We believe that all businesses that are accessing our public beaches or public space should have adequate liability insurance. And if they don't, it puts the taxpayers at greater risk. So in a nutshell, and I'll read this for the record, these are our recommendations. That the borough enforce beach bag requirements except as required by code without exception. The borough promulgate regulations regarding student/adult/instructor ratios for all businesses that are conducting businesses on our public beaches. The borough promulgate regulations regarding background checks and safety training. And the borough require all businesses conducting business on public property have adequate liability insurance. I understand, speaking to Sherry, that she is going to prepare a written response for our request. And based on that response, we'll examine our position more closely and get back to that. Thank you very much.
I just
Thank
have
you.
I got this late because I wasn't,
And
I wasn't CC'd on
I
the
apologize.
letter.
I was just kind of like thinking about it and like all of our children, they play sports and stuff and they go to other public properties as well, like in Stafford or when they go away. So it's kind of like, how is that any different? Like we're unique in that we have a public beach. So, you know, we have different clubs and sports that want to utilize those facilities. It's very similar to, you know, my daughter using Stafford facilities on a team that I signed up for. So is your concern is that they're using public? I understand the insurance and we're going to get to that and explain that we do have liability.
The concern more is the public safety concern on a public beach. That's
So it's more because it's a water
correct.
activity.
Correct, and it was raised by Atlantic Manor Association, which is, you know, a Marine student, and they brought it to our attention that they had concerns. So we're trying to not only address their concern, but in looking at it more closely, if it impacts, there's a concern regarding the surf school, maybe there's other businesses that are accessing our beaches that we should look at it more closely.
So is the concern with the student to teacher ratio that there's more teachers than students? Is that what the concern is? Like if you have 6 teachers and 1 student?
No, more students and visitors per instructor is a concern.
Okay, so that's the concern. If you have only 1,
Correct, and
One
like
instructor and you have
like I
6
indicated in my
students,
letter,
there's
we've
adequate,
been
right.
told that at times there could be 6 adults accompanying the 1 student onto the beach, and then that ratio really becomes skewed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Little 6 adults and do they stay on the beach or?
Yes.
They're spectators.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think, I guess, Dan, I'm saying to myself, that whole ratio dynamic has to be looked at.
I mean, my thought, and I learned this today and spoke with Sherry, is we're not experts in what is an appropriate student to teacher
No.
ratio in surf schools.
Right.
So to the extent that we promulgated some regulations could put us on the hook for some liability. For example, if we say the minimum requirement is 4 students to 1 teacher, and that's what they do, and actually there's some expert says it's better than that, there should be, you know, a greater
Then that
ratio.
looks good.
Then, so this is a private business, similar, I know we have a lot of school experience here
Right,
through
right.
you, and I represent school districts. It's similar to when someone requests a facilities use.
Yeah, facilities.
They're required to demonstrate they have insurance
Right.
to a level that's required by our joint insurance fund. And also they are required to defend and indemnify us from any claims that arise out of there.
Right, but the school's not responsible for the actual,
Right.
they're using the facilities.
Mhm.
It's public property.
In fact, the public person, every other swimmer, surfer, family with a
Right.
surfboard out there is a greater liability because these folks are actually providing us with certificates of insurance and indemnity agreements. Whereas these other members of the public that are out there taking their stab at surfing is a greater liability to the borough.
That's correct. And not to get into too much of the legal weeds, when you're conducting a business, you have a greater duty of care to those people that are exchanging money to avail themselves of your business. So there is otherwise law.
My only comment, council, was that we try to do some due diligence, and when we contacted the National Association of Service Schools, they basically threw up their arms and said, it's up to the government entity to promulgate regulations regarding those ratios. That's what they're listening to.
They had no recommendation.
No recommendation.
I mean, if the Surf Association doesn't have a recommendation, I wouldn't be comfortable recommending it.
Right.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to read a statement or?
Do you want to respond?
Yes.
By the way, thank you for that. They were big concerns, and we
Hold on,
have.
just go over the microphone, state your name and address for the
My name
record.
is Ken. I own the Surf and Paddle, and I live upstairs at 218 South Bay Avenue.
And I would just ask too, that this is public comment to address the council,
Sure.
and we try not to address other members.
Oh, okay, I
So
got
just
you.
make your comments to the council, please. Thank you.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to address each of what he said.
Yeah.
I did get this over to the council, so I think you've all read through it. I circled the ones you said. So, once or twice, one of our spectators said they don't need beach badges. I think it was only once, it might have been twice. That's wrong. Since then, I put a letter in every single surf school packet that says you do need, I have copies, you do need beach badges. We've always had beach badges on the beach. We hook them to a little bag, there's 25 of them. You can check and see, because I wrote a company check to buy them up at the beach badge vendor. So we always have beach badges, they were mistaken. Many people that use our surf school already have Beach Haven beach badges, but we always have more than enough for everybody. So that concern is well covered. We were just talking about ratio to students. There is none, and other surf schools on the island have a much higher ratio than my personal one. My personal one is 1 to 3. Always has been, and I'm going to tell you now, we've been doing it for 12 years on the same beach and other beaches. Never, ever has there been more than 1 to 3, ever. Somebody might have been mistaken. Remember, there's other surf schools that don't have a business here in town. They just show up. I'm not sure they always show up there. I've seen 1 or 2. But some of them are out of a van. Some of them are from Monmouth County. I mean, I have a business here. Our insurance, as you guys saw, is more than you guys asked for. We've always been insured. All of our surf instructors, at a fair cost to myself, take CPR and first aid. So let me just read this real quick. We've been teaching surf lessons since 2011. Everyone that teaches surf lessons has current CPR and first aid. It's every 2 years, but many times they sit in and take it every year. Everyone is CPR and first aid certified. Many of them are ex-lifeguards. Some of them become lifeguards. Some of them are still lifeguards. Me, Coast Guard captain, certified for 100 tons, WPA certification in stand-up paddleboarding, of course, CPR, DFib, lifeguard training. I was a lifeguard instructor and a patrol captain for Long Beach Township. I'm the one that runs the school. Everyone does it. The background check is something I never thought of. It's easy, correct? Easy. But most of my kids don't look like they really need it. I'm happy to do it. I'm sure it'll turn up 0. Of course, safety is our primary concern. We do have an AED. We have a first aid kit on every beach. And some of the guards have used our first aid kit and go, wow, it's a good first aid kit. We're serious. Again, the 1 to 3 ratio. Never, ever. So if 4 instructors are out there giving a lesson, 2 of them have 3 people, another one has 1, and another one might have 2. It's almost always better than 1 to 3. And many times it's a 1 to 2 ratio or even 1 to 1. They pay for private lesson it's one-on-one. My ratio is the best ever. I'm very, very serious about that. We did have an incident last year where the father of a surf school person had words with a woman who owned property on the beach. He got talked to. I have no control over that. We do ask people not to park in other private property. We ask them not to use their hoses. I'm not sure who used their hose twice, but after I yelled at him, it didn't happen again. And again, the students, the beach badges, we do deliver boards to the end of Marine Street because it's right up the street. We've always used it. And twice a day, I first go up there and unload the boards. My surf instructors and some of the students grab the boards and they all walk to the beach. So they're not there for more than 3 or 4 minutes. The end of the day, I come and I pick up all the boards. And again, they're very prompt, they're very courteous, load the boards and we're out. I did offer, if they want us to unload and load boards on a different street, I'm just as happy to do it on Ocean. I don't think anybody would get upset. And that's actually where we have our surf school. So we're on either side of the jetty on Ocean. So Marine Street, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. 1 day a week, we do have surf camp. Every day a week, it's surf lessons. So during surf camp day, there have been times where we've had possibly 16 students. Do the math. If there's 1 to every 3 in the ocean, my policy, you might have 21 or 22 people, okay? Normally, the surf camp kids don't last 2 hours, so they're in and out of the water. So perhaps for 5 minutes one day, there might have been 22 people in the water. And if that looks like a real mess, I don't think it is. It's very safe, but we're happy to split it into 2. Whatever works, whatever seems safe. Safety standpoint, there's been many occasions, you guys can hear, right?
Mhm.
Many occasions where we've helped people out. There's a jetty there. They're teaching somebody here. There's a jetty. You guys move over a little bit. That's not our job, but we're there. CPR certified, first aid certified, ex-lifeguards with surfboards, super skilled, young and energetic and enthusiastic. So is that not safe? Someone mentioned that. It is true. It matters to my business that they're safe, okay? And it matters to my surf instructors. So was there any other, did I get them all?
I just wanted to point out too that Megan Marrow is on the call today, and she also confirmed that they don't have an issue. They do not have a concern with what's happening with the surf school. They work well with Ken. I didn't know if any of you had questions for Megan, but she is on the call today if we needed. But she also gave her blessing to this program.
Yeah, we are happy to, I'm happy if everybody's happy, and that includes other beach patrons. I can't do much about the spectators. I mean, you guys have seen it. These parents come down and they see their kids learn. It's beautiful. So there's not much I can do about them. But they all have beach badges.
They all have beach badges.
All have
Mm.
beach badges. I buy 25 beach badges and the little packet says you must have beach badges. You can't use other people's water. You can't park, etc. So I'm happy to work into it any way you like. I am happy to have this license because I like to jump through all the hoops and make it right. I don't know that every surf school is going to do that. There are visiting surf schools. There's kids that are opening up little surf, and I'm happy for all of them. But do they have insurance? Are they certified in CPR? I don't know. Do they have safe boards? We always have new equipment. And, and it's really nice being up the street or close because they come to the shop, it's super cute. They all go back and get their waddies on. They take a little picture in front of the mural. They all head to the beach. It's pretty good stuff.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that's it,
No.
and I feel like we've covered everything. So I will get you
Sorry to
something in
take so
writing.
long, it was more than 3 minutes.
That's all right. I think it was important. Sherry, did you want to read?
No, I think
No.
I think we covered everything between the 3 of us, so I'm gonna just provide the letter.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak to any topic? You want us to forget you?
Make sure you get real close to that microphone.
Kitty Snyder, 120 Berkeley. I'm just, I'm really, I think, first of all, of Fantasy Island, I think, you can see why you wouldn't want maybe to one week than the next. But I mean, remember, there's so many young families that are here in September and really are looking for things to do. And everybody's so short-staffed and it's kind of hard to get into a restaurant and it's, you know, they can't afford to be here over the 4th. And I think it's really nice. I think that they're such a great asset to the community. I think we should give them what they want. They asked originally, I remember, for having them all summer long. They were told no. Jamie especially was against that. So I'm for valid reasons and I just can't see the reason why we wouldn't just say yes. There's nothing unreasonable about that. So I hope that he doesn't renege on the states. I think it's a great idea for New Year's Eve. I think that's an awesome idea. So I hope you'll approve that. And I appreciate and respect the Taxpayers Association. I just think let's remember that, you know, with 5 objectors, you have 50,000 supporters. And so I think we sometimes look at the people that come to object, 1 or 2, and I think we hopefully learn through the years that so many more people are approve of many things and want to say, come on in instead of you're not doing the right thing or stay away. So it's just, thank you for trying to remember that.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room like to speak to any topic? No? Seeing none, is there anybody on Zoom?
Megan, did you want to speak?
Yes, just something real quick that Ken didn't add is that he also looks at the water conditions and he's very good with working with the patrol and they understand if the water is in poor condition that there is no surf lessons and there is no surf school. So that's something else that he does take into account. We've never had a problem with his surf school. And like you said, a couple of my lifeguards are ex-surf instructors. All of his instructors respect everything we say and they always follow what we say. And they are very safe where it comes to the water and they understand the water and they understand that sometimes a 14-year-old might not be able to understand these conditions. So that day might be canceled. So I wanted to also add that.
Thank you, Megan. While we still have you, I know we're going to have some beaches guarded this weekend, correct? But a very
Yes.
limited number. Could you just,
Yes.
since we have people on, tell us a little bit
Yes,
about
so-
that?
Perfect. Okay, so we are going to have Pearl Street, Center Street, and Fifth Street are going to have guards, and then we're going to have our gators roaming and patrolling the beaches as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
And Megan, can you also speak to the weather for this weekend? I did see a warning about rip current, so for people to be aware of that as well.
Well, the water is going to be cold, so but there's a high chance of rip currents, and especially with everything that happened in the storms that happened in the winter, the bottom is very not settled yet, and it usually doesn't get settled till later. So my suggestion is that you don't go swimming without a lifeguard on duty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on Zoom who'd like to speak? Oh, nobody on Zoom? Okay, please come up.
I just got
Hmm.
down. Tony Gamos, 1 Marine Street. I just heard Penny, thank you for your information. And John, I'm hoping that, I heard Kenny's response that maybe he could use different beaches throughout the year, which would be wonderful. That he can go a block ahead, a block behind. But I do think we need to check the safety, and I do think we have to put badges on our body. You know, not somewhere else. So I'm just saying, not just for any, not just for Marine, but for any street where there's a business. Because we also have little soirees and luncheons, which is great. But put a badge on. That's all I'm saying. We have to go buy them. And I just feel, you know, who's there. And that would cut back on just spectators coming in and out. That's just my suggestion. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at all? No?
Seeing none.
All right, seeing none, we will close the floor to public comment and move on to final remarks by council. Mrs. Bellmiller, why don't we start with you first tonight? You're welcome.
Yeah, the week before Memorial Day always is very anxious and anticipating what's going to happen this weekend. I'm looking forward to, looks like the weather is going to clear up. And it's going to be a somewhat beautiful weekend. And I will see everyone hopefully at the Memorial Day parade. And they'll be lining up at 9:40 a.m. at Taylor Avenue. And we'll be walking down to Veterans Park.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I guess Memorial Day is the unofficial start of the summer.
Hmm.
I think what gets lost in all of the excitement is the reason behind it.
Mhm.
Why we have Memorial Day for men and women that lost their lives protecting the country. And I hope that this kicks off a great summer season for all residents and businesses alike. And everyone stay safe, happy and healthy throughout the summer.
Thank you. Mrs. Rutherford?
I also would like to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day weekend. Remember for the reason why we celebrate it. I also want to remind folks, we had briefly talked about this at the last couple meetings. We are going to be restarting the Neighborhood Watch program. The feedback was minimal, but we're going to move it to Tuesday at 6 p.m. It will be here in Borough Hall. We'll be meeting with the police, members of the community, taxpayers, business owners, anyone who'd like to come. You have concerns that you'd like the police to just be aware of that you see around town. So that will be starting hopefully mid-June. We're just trying to work out the date. So if anyone would like to join in, there's an email address on our website. Hopefully by next week's meeting or the week after, I'll have the actual date. So, but that will be starting up. So feel free to send emails to myself or to the Neighborhood Watch Program email address.
Thank you. And last but not least, first of all, I want to congratulate the first grade class at Beach Haven Elementary School today. They had their grand opening for their lending library. This was the brainchild of Mrs. Jill Folletta and her 4 young ladies in first grade. And it's really a great idea. It's for residents and visitors alike. It's on the 7th Street or the south side of the building. If you have any good children's books you'd like to donate, I'm sure they'd be glad to get them. And if you know anybody who's interested, please pass the word along. The Memorial Day activities, you've already heard a little bit about them. I would like to mention they actually, not here, but at Southern Regional, start tomorrow with their Field of Flags, which is spectacular if you've never seen it. And they do a service at 10:30. It will be outside on the front lawn. If it rains, then it'll be inside the 910 auditorium. And you already know that we're back in action with our parade this year for the first time in a few years. The parade will start at 10, go down the boulevard from Taylor to Ingleside, and then there will be a service in the park at 10:30. And as has been said several times, let's remember the reason for that wonderful 3-day weekend. I know we're all happy to have it, but there is a very important reason behind it. Again, have a safe, memorable, enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. And please be careful in the streets, on the beaches, and we wish everybody well. Thank you.
I just wanted to also just to throw some kudos out there to Mary Claire, who resurrected this parade after being dormant for a couple years. She had no help from a predecessor. It's been sitting. So she really picked up the ball and ran with it and made a lot of contacts. She really tightened the ship and made things right and really put a lot of time and mental energy into getting everybody back on track, getting everything lined up. So I know she's really excited and I hope everything goes off without a hitch. She did a great job.
Okay, yes, thank you for that. I guess then we just need a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the borough, I was asked to report to the community concerning the statements of Mr. Mosca of Atlantic City Electric made during the April Land Use Board meeting concerning the borough's communication with Atlantic City Electric about 208 North Bay Avenue and access to the front of that property through the adjacent Atlantic City Electric property. As a result of the questions raised by members of the governing body and the business community, the borough asked me to investigate this matter to ascertain what actually occurred and whether anything unlawful occurred. The investigation determined that there were two general instances of communication between the borough and Atlantic City Electric. The first occurred during the borough's regular meeting with Atlantic City Electric, which was on March 12th of 2021. Just something about that meeting, the borough regularly meets with Atlantic City Electric representatives to keep ongoing communication about issues occurring between the two and just to keep that open line of communication moving. During that meeting, the borough referenced a need for 208 North Bay Avenue to have access to the street as part of a development project that was filing. This issue appeared to be raised by the Department of Public Works, which proactively spots issues with potential developments, such as with garbage removal, as was the case here. Mr. Mosca asked the borough send him a follow-up letter, which was sent about 1 week later. During that meeting, Mr. Mosca stated that any such decision would be made by Atlantic City Electric's real estate department and was outside of his authority. Other than passing along the information, Mr. Mosca indicated that he had no communication with the real estate department. The investigation also found that Mr. Mosca and the borough engineer discussed this matter after the issue of rear access was raised by the land use board. The borough engineer said he speaks with Mr. Mosca frequently about numerous issues in the borough, and this came up in one of those conversations. There was no other evidence establishing any other communication between the borough and Atlantic City Electric. Related to this, the investigation also found that Donna Marie Hubel was contacted by Mr. Burris about a contact person at Atlantic City Electric, supposedly to discuss an access agreement and or easement. She provided him with Mr. Mosca's name. There was no other borough involvement at that time, and so the matter arose at the April 2022 Land Use Board meeting and resulted in this investigation. As part of the investigation, I spoke with Mr. Mosca, the other individuals mentioned, as well as the attorney for Atlantic City Electric, Joel Fleischman. Mr. Mosca and Mr. Fleischman both stated that any access agreement or easement was handled by Atlantic City Electric's real estate department without their involvement. And what actually was granted, which the land use, the construction department has on file, or the land use board has on file, is not an easement, but just an access agreement. Those two individuals, Mr. Mosca and Mr. Fleischman, also stated that they did not feel any pressure or quid pro quo in relation to Atlantic City Electric's variance application and granting an easement or other access agreement to 208 North Bay. So following this fact finding and applying the law to the facts, I found that no unlawful actions occurred here. There was no indication that any borough official had direct or indirect personal or pecuniary interest in either the North Bay venture or Atlantic City Electric's application. Thus, to summarize, the investigation found the following. There was one communication between borough officials and Ken Mosca in March 2021, which was followed up with a letter. The borough engineer spoke with Mr. Mosca regarding this matter after it was raised at the land use board. Donna Marie and Mr. Burris spoke once about this matter. No borough official had any personal or financial interest in this matter, and no unlawful actions that occurred. Notwithstanding, as a result, the borough has reviewed its practices and believes that it is part of our responsibility as local government to assist businesses and residents who are in need of connecting with public utilities and or other levels of government. That was the intent here, not to advocate for any particular business or issue, but to assist a member of the community in connecting with a public utility. To the extent that the borough was perceived to go too far in this case, we have learned from that experience and will limit any future involvement in situations like this to identifying an appropriate individual with whom to speak at any public utility and or level of government.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. I know you've been at it for quite a while. So, all right. Now I assume that it's okay to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Is there a second?
Second. Thank you, everyone. Being here.
Thank you.